Development is about dreaming. Pre production is about deciding. And once you decide, you lock it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the studio sessions. My name is Brooke, and we talk about movies every week. Whether it's making movies, watching movies, what the industry is doing right now. And today, we are continuing the series on how films are made with part three, which is pre production. Pre production isn't just planning, it's the moment that you acknowledge and accept that you can't do everything, that you can't do every idea you had in development. And you don't have unlimited time. You have a set date, or you should have a set date for getting things finished. And every decision closes a door on all the other options. So there's one clear pathway, clear, distinct decisions, and ability to move forward through those decisions. That is what locking the movie really means. You're choosing one decision, one pathway forward, one version of the film to make, and letting everything else go. It's not to say those are bad ideas. It's not to say those couldn't have been great options as well, but you're deciding for whatever reason whether that wasn't the best decision you could make, whether that wasn't the decision you wanted to make, whether you had boundaries in other ways, financially, time wise, that just didn't let those work. You've made your decision and let everything else go. And there are three really harder truths to contend with as you're going through pre production. Because in development, anything goes. But in pre production, you've got constraints, you've got boundaries, you've got timelines, you've got commitment. So, the hard truth number one is you cannot afford every idea. Budget constraints are real. You only have so much in that resource. And to use it wisely, do what you can, you have to stay within that. In development, ideas are free. Have all the ideas you want. Pre production, ideas cost money. Every location option or extra location you choose, every additional character you add, every complex camera move or piece of equipment, every extra shoot day, and if you extend your shooting timeline, all of those have a price tag. And this is where creativity meets budget and resources. You don't ask what would look really cool. You ask what is the best option that serves the greater purpose of the film well and is within our budget and ability to complete. Locking the movie means you decide which of all of your ideas from development survive and move forward. And you accept, maybe even embrace, that some won't. Hard truth number two, time will dictate creativity. You don't have unlimited time. You don't have unlimited time for prep. You don't have unlimited shoot days. You don't have unlimited energy or resources or time with your crew and cast. Schedules shape how the film is made. Sometimes a scene changes not because it's better, but because it's more realistic for functionally, logistically making happen. Sometimes the location determines how the scene works, how the scene looks, outside of any hopes or dreams that came in the development phase for what those things would be. And sometimes daylight determines your scheduling, the mood of the film, all of that. Pre production forces you to be creative and design everything within set boundaries and set constraints. But constraints or boundaries aren't the enemy of creativity. They help bring clarity to it. They help direct it. They help define it. And locking the movie means you build the film that can actually be made in the time that you have. We had our first screening of the winter screening series for Like a Butterfly this last weekend, and it was awesome. It was not just watching the film, but it's a conversation after, and the conversation was amazing. It really reminded me why I wanted to make the film and why I felt like it was so important. And quote someone from the screening shared with me that I wanted to share with you is, "This film is an extremely important watch, regardless if you're affected by TS or not. If you do have TS, it will leave you feeling empowered and like you are not alone." I was so blessed to share the film. We have two more dates coming up, March 14th and March 21st. Join us, and I can't wait to talk. Hard truth number 3: every choice eliminates another possibility. And this is the hardest and more emotional one, because when you cast an actor, choose one location, approve one wardrobe direction, or lock the script, you eliminate every alternative version. You've decided this is it. Thousands of versions of the movie you're making that could be made. Pre production makes you choose one, and that is committing to it. That's also risky because you're risking that those were the right decisions and commitments to make. And once it's locked, you move forward. Pre production is not about exploring ideas anymore. That was the development phase. Pre production is not what could be, it's what is. Pre production is about committing. You're turning the cast and crew you really wanted into contracted workers. You're turning the idea of a timeline into an actual schedule. And you're turning the inspiration you had, the goal that you have, the mission of the film into an actual calling and responsibility to make that happen. And pre production is preparing to execute those plans. You can call it locking the movie because you lock the script into a shooting draft. You lock in what the budget for the film is. You lock in the scheduling for shooting the film, post production, distribution. You lock in the cast, have them contracted, ready to go, scheduled in, and you lock in the locations. All of those things, very, very importantly, lock in the direction the film is going. You've played with your ideas. Now you pick a door to go through. And so it's saying, this is the film we're making. In pre production on Like a Butterfly, when I was figuring out logistics, when I was scheduling interviews, when I was figuring out the logistics of remote interviews, I had to let versions of the film that I had thought I wanted go, because there needed to be executable plans and logistics and a way to move forward, and a clear way to move forward. Some final thoughts about pre production. Pre production is where you start officially saying no to things, which feels really heavy. But in development, things are collaborative, open ended, they're question marks, they're like the web of ideas. And pre production is getting to the end of that trail to your final decision and being more hard and fast about knocking stuff out, taking out options. And the director and producer become the filter for those decisions. They become the ones making those decisions and having to say no to things. And pre production is where you realize not every idea and not everyone's idea will make it into the film. And As a director, as a producer, you're the one that has to decide that. So that means saying no to crew suggestions when it's already been decided. That means saying no to your own ideas when you've already decided, and protecting the budget from your own creativity and thoughts. Pre production is also where the risk becomes more real because you're actually spending money. You're signing legal contracts. People are committing to a time frame, and you're get equipment and supplies and all of that. Pre-production is the first time the film starts to actually cost money and cost other people something because they're committing their time or their resources. And pre-production is all the stuff that happens before you get to the set. So there's a lot of pieces to it that are often not seen or talked about, like scouting equipment, scouting locations, having production meetings, having shot lists created and talking about what shots you're going to get, revising the budget, deciding on the budget, breaking down in the schedule when you're going to shoot what scenes, and planning for any contingencies you might need. If pre production is done well, no one notices it. But if it's done not well, it shows in the movie and everyone feels it. So, this is also where you have the risk of not fully locking the film. I am such an indecisive person. This is where it becomes difficult for me because I have to discipline myself and put a timeline on myself for making these decisions and commitments so that I stay on track. Because soft locking is when you try to tell yourself something is finalized, but you're leaving space open to change your mind. But that leaves confusion. That leaves blurriness in the vision. You aren't clearly going down one singular path. And you don't want to change major things halfway through shooting. And that's also where your budget can creep more expensive because you're trying to squeeze other things in last minute that you couldn't make a final decision on, or you hadn't decided fully and then you weren't committed to something. And so it left room for that thing to become more expensive than you were planning for in your initial budget. It can also cause confusion on set where there's confusion between crew and cast, and then things just get disheveled and chaotic. If pre production doesn't lock the film, production becomes putting out fires and damage control, trying to keep things on track. So, once the film is locked, kind of feel something shift. There's no more debating, there's no more dreaming, there's just execution, just making the film now. And that is production. And that is what we will talk about in the next episode of the How Films Are Made series. The Studio Sessions is a Butterfly Entertainment production. You can keep up with all of our podcasts, YouTube videos, films, and other projects on our Instagram page. We are at Butterfly Entertainment Group. Thanks for listening.